Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for joining the Carla Murphy Show, Uniquely Different, where we believe in gelling. So we're here tonight. We're getting ready to grow, earn, and learn together. We are in for an exciting evening, and I can't wait to hear all of this greatness. We know certainly it is Women in History Month. And so we are highlighting some special women along with some of the men who help the ladies to be who we are. So we're very grateful for all that's going to take place today. We are focusing on our young people today. We're focusing on how we can inspire them, motivate them, and educate them, for truly they are our today and our tomorrow. That being said, we're going to move forward in the show tonight, and we have an amazing young man with us. His name is Mr. Raymond Anderson Jr. We know him to be a native of Buffalo. He's active in the Lackawanna, Great Lakes, and New York State communities. He is a deacon in his church. He's also an entrepreneur, and we are so excited to hear about the greatness from Mr. Raymond Anderson. We've partnered in ministry, and he's been nothing but a wonderful blessing to many. He can also cook. That's a hidden talent he doesn't like to tell us about. But Mr. Raymond Anderson, good evening and welcome to the show.
Good evening to you, Carla Murphy. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I understand that you have a business called God's Design. And I want you to tell us a little bit about that business, how you got into business and where the vision came from.
Um, the business idea came from, I used to be a church administrator at my home church, Mount Olive Baptist Church in Lackawanna, New York, and doing flyers and um, obituaries and programs. One of the elders of the church was like, you should do this more often. Like, you're really good at this. And through the years, I moved on to the West Coast to Seattle, and then really began doing it a lot there while I was in school and living on the West Coast. And it has picked up. It has been a blessing. Even during this pandemic, I've still been able to have funds come in due to my business. So I'm grateful for it.
That's a blessing. And how long have you been in business?
Approximately 10 years now. 10 years. I'm very low key. I don't like telling people, but I do it. But about 10 years I've been doing it now.
All right, so you've been low key for a little while, but you're going to tell the world about all of your greatness and what you can do for them to help them through God's design. So I
Yes.
know that even during a pandemic, you mentioned that the Lord has been good to you and He's helped you to
Yes.
continue to sustain and maintain your business. So, Mr. Raymond, in doing that, I know that people aren't really gathering like we used to, so we don't necessarily have all of the different events that we had going on. But tell us how you can still maintain a successful graphic design business even during a pandemic.
For me, it has a lot of things have had to change. I would do business cards, obituaries, programs, banners, so forth and so on. But now I've had to learn how to use technology as my friend. So because we're not gathering, I've been doing like slideshows for people and emailing it to them so they can put it on things like such as Zoom or when they're having their meetings or conferences. I've even been to the point now to where people order things, and instead of it being in this Buffalo, New York area, I'm shipping things out to other cities and other states. So it's been a change for us all, but technology has been a good. I just don't have to depend on business from the Western New York area. It has broadened my horizons throughout the country of people ordering, can I get obituaries? Can I get some business cards and ship it to them or electronically send it to them at this moment?
So, if you had some words of advice to give to young people in regards to how they could start a graphic design business, what are some things that you would suggest for them?
The first thing I would say is don't let no one tell you that you can't do it. Self-confidence is key in anything that you want to do in life. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else can. The second thing I would say is even if it's just doing things for fun, keep practicing. get different type of programs and different things that you can use, because as you begin to grow and your clientele changes, you have to know how to work within the clientele. For instance, today someone may actually do a business card and you do it one way, but then they may actually do it on a banner. So you have to know how to work within the area in which you're in and the people that you're working with. That's the key. And the number three thing is just be focused. Um, Being focused has been the thing that has kept me. Sometimes it's been hard. Some people have said you can't make it, you ain't be able to do it. Well, what about this person? They do it this way, they do it that way. But if you just be focused and do what's in your heart and your mind, you'll be all right.
I like that a lot. It is about being focused and fulfilling your dreams and having purpose. And one thing that I know is that when you talk to God and God talks to you, He will lead you, guide you, and direct you. And if He takes you to it, He certainly will bring you through it. So I'm really grateful to hear that. I know that you've worked and served in ministry a lot. And I'd like for you to touch on a little bit about your journey as a junior deacon, which can be an encouragement to other young men that you don't just have to be a certain age to serve God. Talk about that a little bit, Mr. Raymond.
Um,
Deacon Raymond Anderson Jr.
my journey actually as a deacon began when I was a teenager. At my church, my Love Baptist Church, um, we had a junior deacon board when my previous pastor was there. Um, and it fell off, but we all got grown, moved away, went to school, so forth and so on. So at the age of 22, 23, my previous pastor, he asked me would I join the deacon board. We prayed and fasted, and I've been doing it for about 11, 12 years now. And I'm
That's
the,
a
the
blessing.
youngest one on the board.
That's a blessing. So, as a junior deacon in your church, what were some of your duties and responsibilities?
My duties and responsibilities was mostly in the beginning with just the young people, working with um, the youth department, making sure they was on track. Because it is kind of hard when you're younger and and I'm gonna go to a Baptist church and you're still under the umbrella of the youth department. So it was a little hard, but my focus was working with the young people and working with the music ministry. That's where and helping with administration, like administrative office, or if it was networking via Facebook or Instagram or whatever it was. That's what my focus was, and that's currently part of where I still am at this moment.
Thank you so much for sharing. You definitely have an inspirational story to many and to all. And so I know that I've had an opportunity to see the outstanding work that you've done through God's design. I've seen the walk that you had on your journey. And I would like for you to share with the viewers and the listeners how they can reach you if they're in need of any graphic design service, whether it be obituaries or if they're looking for programs or invitations, business cards, and the such. Mr. Deacon Raymond Anderson, how can you be reached?
You can reach me via email at raymondjr85@gmail.com. That's raymondjr85@gmail.com. You can reach me on Facebook, Raymond J.R. Anderson on Facebook, or you can call me at 716-400-4968.
Thank you. Again, the number is
716-400-4968.
Deacon Raymond Anderson Jr. from the Mount Olive Baptist Church of Lackawanna. We thank you so much for coming and sharing and encouraging our young people. And we're looking forward to more greatness from you, for truly you are uniquely different. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Next up on our lineup is another special young lady I've known for many, many years. I want to say most of my life, if not all of it. but we've grown up in the same church. We've shared sisterhood together. I know her to be a loving and kind mother and grandmother and friend. She's also been a previous business owner where she was an entrepreneur. She had a daycare, and I learned a lot of different things from hearing tips from this next guest, Mrs. Lillian Holmes. And so today, she is honoring us in such a special way. And we know that young people are definitely a big part of her life and that she will do anything. I've seen her take in many young people and lay her hands on them, touching those hearts to help them to become the special people who they are. So I say tonight, good evening to Mrs. Lillian Holmes, and we're going to hear about creative ways for teaching our youth and the young at heart during the pandemic. And certainly during this uncharted territory, we can all use some tips. So Mrs. Lillian Holmes, my sister, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for that introduction, Sister Carla. I first want to give an honor to God and thank you. And I've enjoyed what you're doing in the community and how you're spotlighting and featuring guests.
Thank you.
I applaud you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So let me just begin. The pandemic has caused us to utilize technology, as Deacon Anderson has stated, in a different way. And we have to find creative ways to engage our young people. And so most of my life, I say young at heart because I am always going to be young at heart, but I have always tried to engage young people, young women especially, to do better and to recognize that the potential in God can make them great. So with the pandemic being what it is, and we don't have the same ability to engage with one another, we utilize technology differently. So most of us have the opportunity to utilize Facebook or as you're using right now, Zoom or WebEx. You can have different breakout rooms and you can bring the young people in and teach them. So for my little ones, I would utilize YouTube. I would give them something to look up because you have to do something to engage their mind so that when they come back, they're prepared. Because telling them to read and you're not going to be in front of them, they're going to just sit there and look at you like, okay, what are we doing? And to be engaged in Christian education is not for me to entertain you, but it is for me to give you a fundamental foundation of what you can be. And so I say young at heart because every person that is coming into the kingdom is not going to always have a foundation. Everyone did not grow up in church. They did not always hear a word. And we have to remember that we are living epistles read of men. So while we are doing the things that we're doing, we have to give them an opportunity to be able to engage. And we have to stay connected because you don't want to lose your people, your young people, your old people, anyone. You don't want to lose them. And this is a time when it's difficult to engage and keep your mind on the things of Christ and to feel connected. So we do things now that some people would feel connected. Now, don't forget your first works. Don't forget to call. Don't forget if you got to drive by and put something in the mailbox. Those things are vital in order to save them and keep them, not to save them because only God can do that, but in order to keep them in the kingdom. So there are different other tools. As I stated, we utilize Zoom and we utilize a WebEx or for Zoom, you can have different classrooms. You'll have a meeting room. You can break out. If you have any WebEx trainings, you can also have a main setting, and then you can put people into little breakout rooms where you can do different trainings. And you can't record each breakout room. Unfortunately, only the main setting can be recorded. But in the breakout room, you can put them in age-appropriate groups that they would engage with one another on their own level, because as much as we want to say the lesson is for everyone, you have to meet people where they are. And while you're meeting them where they are, their understanding may be different. If someone is new to Christ and they don't know the scriptures, you don't want to put them in a class with and I don't want to offend anyone of age, but you really don't want to put them in a class with a bunch of old women who can spout out scriptures left and right because that will make you sit back and be like, oh, I don't want to engage. So you want to put them where they're comfortable, where they have an ability to speak to one another on the level that they are, but you still want to give them the foundation of the word. And I say this, that I have not always followed the precepts of Christ. So I recognize that when we do something that does not follow the word of God, and we're in the world, when life starts to compound on us, we need to know that God is always with us. Amen. So I don't want to teach y'all this today and go just give you a bunch of scriptures, but
teach us. It's okay. Teach us.
The word of God is still true.
Yes, it is.
We have so many different things that we utilize when we're teaching. And if I have some teenagers and some young people, I'll use something like Kahoot so that they can come in, and who can answer the fastest with the correct answer gets the most points. Now, the day and age that we live in, when they go to school, they're not as competitive because the new school system says, oh, if everybody participates, you're a winner. I came from an old school where we were competitive and I wanted to be number one, and I did not want you to beat me, so I want the most points. So I keep that mindset. Deacon Anderson is laughing, but I want to be a winner. I don't want to be last. I want to be first. So I want to be successful, and in that, I want to engage them in a way where they recognize, hey, if I answer fast, I get points. If I answer correctly, I get points. So that they'll participate and practice and read and study. Utilizing YouTube is an amazing resource now where you can give them information. They can look at it. You can teach a class and then come back, and you can go have a question and answer series, put those answers up. And as they answer, they will be able to say, oh, okay, I got it. And it'll make you come up, because of course now that's me. Most of the time, my young people will come up because they don't want to be last. They don't want to have the least amount of points. They want those bragging rights. You also offer them prizes. Now I say that, Miss Cook wasn't giving us no prizes back in the day, but that is vital, right? Mm-hmm. Because when I was little, Miss Cook might not have gave me no prizes, but Sister Short would give me some candy. Mm-hmm. So you wanted those things of encouragement. So I also offer some kind of recognition for my kids who come to Sunday school. We went to Kingdom Bound, and that was an awesome resource, but that was a privilege because we participated in Sunday school, because we participated in Bible study, because we were in the youth choir. We were able to go to Kingdom Bound. We couldn't just walk in off the street and say, oh, I'm going to Darien Lake to Kingdom Bound with them. There was a benefit for us participating. So I try and still engage the young people to recognize that there is still a benefit in the kingdom for participation. If you show up on time, that means you got to get on your mother. If you're normally late, you got to tell your mother, hey, listen, I need you to get me up and get me to Sunday school, because if I'm not there on time, I don't get the opportunity to get a season pass to Darien Lake. And it may sound like bribery, but whatever it takes right now to get them to have a mind to come in, we're different. We're different. We don't raise our children the same way that we were raised. I can, Miss Nolly, Miss Cook, Rosie Stewart, they poured into us in a different kind of way. Our young people today don't have the same fundamentals that we had. So they don't have the same desire to come work in the church. We didn't, I don't know if I had a desire when I was younger to do it, but I didn't have an option not to do it. No. So there was no option. There was no, oh, I'm not coming to church, I'm going to stay home and watch TV. No, that wasn't my option. My option was, it's service and you'll be there. So now they have options. So we want to give them an opportunity to do something differently. We want to give them an opportunity to come into the kingdom, to learn the word of God, utilize the resources. Facebook has meeting rooms that you can come into. You can utilize Facebook. YouTube has live sessions that if you wanted to teach them live, and they can put in their answers, but you have to meet them sometimes at their level. And then you have to remember that your seniors don't navigate the same way. So when they come in, they're not doing the same thing that my young people are doing. So they utilize technology different. Just be glad that they got on. because they cannot navigate in the same manner, but you still want to be able to minister where they are as well. You want to be able to tell them where the scriptures are. You also want the young people to not just rely on technology, but you want to encourage them to have a Bible. You want to encourage them to open up their Bible and to read it. It is great. I love the convenience of having my Bible on my phone, but it is nothing like turning the pages of the Word of God that I might read and learn who He is. So if you find that the young people don't have it, this is a good time to send them something, to send them a Bible. And I really want to say, Miss Hackett and Kathy, they would do some things. Oh my goodness! When I was away, those $5 little envelopes might not. Now when I look back, it was lunch, it was laundry money, it was an encouragement. And we have to remember and do those things that we have both learned and heard in order to keep our young people and some of our seniors engaged. You have to remember that you have single mothers coming and they don't have everything that they need. And because now we're in a pandemic, you don't get to see them and see that there is a need. So you have to keep it in your spirit that you want to just send something, just send a little love token. Just, hello, how are you? I'm thinking about you. Utilize your U.S. Postal Service because you want to keep them working as well. But you also want to win souls to Christ. You want to keep the body of Christ engaged. You want to keep them participating. You want to keep them loving God. Because when you get something and nobody knew that you had a need but God, don't neglect it. Don't wait. If God put somebody on your heart, call them then. Utilize your phone, utilize your technology, all of the things that you need to remember, because we don't have that same hands-on love that we had. This season, it has been a season of barrenness, but things still do grow in the valley. Things still do grow in the desert. So we have to remember that things still grow in the valley and they still grow in the desert, and that God is still amazing and awesome. And He said He would never leave us nor forsake us. He will provide everything that we needed when we needed it. So while we have those things rooted and grounded down on the inside, we have to put that in our other people who don't have it the same way that we did. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Miss Lillian. That was really, really outstanding. And it's so true. And I would like for you to speak a little bit more to the fact of how we can connect the principles that we learn inside of the church building and implement them into the lives of our young people and older people alike outside of the walls of the church.
We can implement. God's word says we recognize those things that we have both learned and heard. So when you learn something, Rosie Stewart would take us and we would have to go as a junior nurse. We would have to go do volunteering in the hospital, right? With our little candy stripers, right. Put your stuff on and go pass out the magazines and go visit. Those things are vital in today's society because we don't volunteer. We don't teach the importance of caring for someone else. We don't teach the fundamentals the same way that we learned them. And because we don't teach them the same way that we learned them, we have a generation of young people who don't know who God is, who don't want you to speak to their children. It took a village to raise us. We didn't raise ourselves, and our mothers didn't do it alone. The neighbors could speak to us and we would receive respect and fear that they would go back and tell, please don't go back telling nobody I did something. I don't need that drama in my life. I promise you I won't do it again. But we won't say nothing to somebody's children nowadays. We won't correct when we see wrong. Now, I'm saying we won't, but I will. If I see you doing something you don't have no business, I will not only correct, but I will love you. I will let you know that you do not have to do it in that manner, because the women who poured into me let me know that I didn't have to do it in that manner. They continue to pour into me. They continue to see about me. So when I see young people, you mentioned it, I've opened up my home down through the years, but in that, you cannot discipline a child without loving on a child. So you have to love on them in order to give corrective criticism. You can't just go badgering people. Nobody receives that. But if you give them love, and everything that we have goes right back to the love that God had for us, And because God had love for us, we have love for one another. And without us loving God, we could not love on anyone else. We wouldn't know how to do it. God tells us what they need. That's what the spirit of discernment is. And if we don't discern what we need as a body of believers, we can't go out and minister to the world. So if you see young, I'm speaking of women because I'm a woman, so I can minister to women more easily, but I don't neglect to minister to young men. When you see a young man who does not have a father in his life, and sometimes his mother is struggling, doing everything she can, you cannot neglect to say something to our young men, because if you don't, they will never understand. They might not appreciate it, be like, well, I don't want to hear that. But if you continue to do it in love, in the fundamental basic thing, that love that God has for us, we can win souls to Christ. We can be an example. We can be a light to a dark world. So the most important thing that I can say that I learned growing up in Greater Hope was that those women and men, I'm saying women, but Deacon Brantley, Deacon Smith, they poured into us in such a way. They were available for us, whatever we needed. Your father, we could go talk to him about anything. Your mother, our parents were available when we needed it. And it wasn't that Deacon Murphy was just your father. If we needed to talk to him, we could go talk to Deacon Murphy. If we were in trouble, we could talk to him outside of the four walls of the church, as far as Officer Murphy, and tell him, like, I'm did some stuff I ain't had no business doing. What do I do to get out of this situation? And not necessarily that we don't have accountability for our actions, but what can I do to change the environment that I'm hanging out in? How do I connect with different people? So those are the things that we learned, that there is some availability, there is some responsibility, there's some creativeness, and all of those things that we learned, we grew up with, we have to put it back into our young people. We can't just say, I'm an island, it's just me and my children, and that's all I'm gonna worry about, because if my child is the only child that gets help, my child does no good when they get outside the door, because what's gonna happen? They're with the kids outside more than they are with us. So we have to engage, give them a safe place to be. So many young people don't have safe places to be. They don't have food, they don't have clothing, they don't have someone to speak life into their situation. I have a young lady who is my neighbor. This young lady, I was watching one day out the window, and the little boys were feeling her up. So I waited. I didn't, because you gotta be wise. He that will win souls must be wise. So I waited. I didn't just go outside and say, get off of her. I waited until they went on, and I said, come here, baby. And she was like, I don't want to hear it. I was like, well, you might not, but I'm still saying, come on over here, sit with me for a little while. And it was late in the evening, and I said, you know that you don't have to let nobody do that to you. And she was like, what you talking about? I said, I watched for 20 minutes that them boys kept feeling you up, and then they wrote off about their business. You don't have to let nobody do that. She says, well, my mother don't mind. I said, but that don't matter. That's not your story. You don't have to let nobody do that. And she was like, well, why do you care? I said, because I got daughters. And because I have daughters doesn't mean that they're the only daughters I have, because I have daughters in Zion. So God gives me other children. I said, so if you ever feel like your house is not a safe house, then come to my house. Day or night, you can knock on the door. I'll get up, I'll let you in. If you're hungry, if you need something. And she was like, yeah, okay. So I know as a young person, I was not the kid to ask. So I started to make bags for her, because sometimes people are not going to tell you their need. You have to have the spirit of discernment. So I would just make a bag. So when I see her come home from school, here, come here. I got something for you. And so here's some school supplies. He was like, why are you giving me that? Just because I got daughters. So I know that they need some stuff. So I was shopping for them, and I saw some stuff I thought you might like. When school clothes came around, here's a gift card. What she does with it is not my responsibility, but the imprint that I leave makes a difference. The imprint that other people in church have made a difference. And so I go back to Sister Kathy Gates and Sister Hackett. That $5 envelope, made a difference. It made a world of difference in the way that I operated with my young people, because $5 20 years ago was huge. If you get me, now it's not so, I'm saying 20, but it was way more than 20. I'm just not gonna tell you how old I am, but it was huge, right? And it made a big difference when you're in college and you getting, listen, you could eat good, you could shop good. And so I remember those things. So I try and encourage and do those same things that I both learned and heard growing up.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. I feel so much encouragement through the story and the testimony that I've heard today. And for truly, I know that those statements are definitely true. And it has helped to shape, mold us, and to develop us into the women that we are today. And so I'm just grateful for the imprint that you have made in the lives of many. I'm grateful for all of the sacrifices that you've made, because nobody really knows that it's really a matter of the heart. And so you have definitely shared and given lots of love down through the years. And so thank you so much for all that you've done to make the lives of people better and to pour into my life. And so I'm just grateful that you were able to come and share today with me on the Carla Murphy Show, for truly you are uniquely different. And so, Ms. Lillian Holmes, we're looking forward to continue greatness and success. And I just love you. I love your family. And God knows you all, the Monroes, the Robinsons, the Fields, you've all been such a blessing. And we're just looking forward to growing, earning, and learning together. God bless you.
God bless
You're
you.
welcome. You're welcome. After that, I don't know how we can go on, but we have another phenomenal woman of God who's coming on here today to share with us. I know her as a mother. She's a wife also. She's a sister. She's a friend. She's an educator. She's a Christian educator. And Mrs. Keisha Jacobs is going to come on and talk to us about student accountability during virtual learning. Miss Keisha has a heart of gold, and I've watched her just as Miss Lillian and Deacon Raymond Anderson. I know these people personally, and I know all of the sacrifices that they've made to invest in the lives of many, and especially our young people. And I know that we've pulled resources together. We've done what we needed to do to make sure collectively and individually that the needs of young people that we could place our hands on, they were met. And so without any further ado, thank you so much for being a sister and a friend, Miss Keisha Jacobs. I'm looking forward and waiting with great anticipation to hear about this student accountability. Good evening, and take it away, Mrs. Keisha Jacobs.
Good evening. Thank you for having me, Carla. It is a pleasure to be here. I wanted to take a moment just to piggyback on what Ms. Lillian was saying about how each one, how as adults, we leave an imprint on our students, on our young people. As a teacher in the Buffalo Public School system, it is very important that for every child that God has placed me to be over in my classroom, that there is an imprint that I touch them with the love of the Lord. My job is to teach them academics, but my job as a believer is to love them into the kingdom. Right now, we are in the midst of a pandemic. It is a very scary time. It is a time for uncertainty. It's uncertainty for our school district. There's uncertainty for our teachers and administrators. Parents are uncertain of what's happening. And most of all, our children are uncertain because what is normal to them, school, going to school, being with your friends, socialization, playing, routine. We've kind of lost that over the past 12 months. And learning is different on a lot of levels, but it's doable. And our students need to be accountable for what they're learning. Parents must be accountable for what their children are learning. Teachers and administrators must be accountable to teaching our children. And the school district must be accountable for making sure that the resources are available so that our students can be proficient in their learning. So this is a different situation, but it's a doable situation. And when we all work together, we can all have great success. One of the things I wanted to talk about, start off with student accountability and parent accountability and accountability with our educators. It is important, as we said earlier, that students have routines. Children need to have routines. Even though most of our children are learning virtually, some classrooms have opened up for hybrid learning. It is important that we maintain a routine. I know different households have different things going on. I understand that. But consider this, when your child is late for school, your child is missing something. Whether your child is late for school virtually, where they're late hybrid, or if this had been a traditional school year and they were in school, when they're late, they're missing, okay? For every moment that that child is not in class, that throws them farther back in what they are learning for the goals for that school year, or what we like to say now as their learning pursuits. They're missing out on something. One of the misfortunes, a lot of students are on their own schedule. Now, schools have a schedule. Most schools are working on the same schedule with the virtual learning as they are in the regular school day. For example, the school that I teach at, our school starts at 7:55 in the morning, okay? And we end at 2:30, okay? My first class begins at 8:15. I have a total of 21 students. However, at 8:15, I may only have 5 students in my class. And then as the day progresses, students may trickle in and students will trickle out, all right? The learning continues. So when that child is not in that classroom, if that child is late, if my class starts at 8:15 and it goes from 8:15 till 9 o'clock, and that child does not attend class till 5 minutes to 9, they have missed 40 minutes of instruction that they will never get back. So if that's just one day out of the year, and we're 40 weeks into the school year, okay, imagine how many, there's 180 school days. So if that child is late every day, or if that child is late 3 or 4 times a week, imagine what that happens over a long period of time. That is learning that that child will never get back, because each grade level has a purpose. Even though we're building on skills and we're building on concepts from the year before, once that child gets to 6th grade, formal math and formal ELA skills are no longer taught after 6th grade. So when you have a younger child who's consistently absent or consistently late for school, it affects their reading skills. It affects their math skills. It affects their learning, so that when they get into 7th and 8th grade or secondary education, these are some of the reasons why we find our children frustrated and ready to leave school, because they have not met the criteria for success. So as a community, what do we do? Because this is not just a family issue. This is not just a family or an individual crisis. This is a community crisis, because this affects our community as a whole, okay? So now we need to make the parents, you need to have your child on time. And if we need to make other arrangements, Buffalo Public Schools uses the platform of Schoology as a way of communicating assignments. And we also use Microsoft Teams as our platform for gathering our students in our virtual classrooms. Each teacher has to put the children assignment in Schoology. If your child is going to be late or your child is not there, then as a parent, it is your responsibility to make sure that child gets that work done. When your child misses assignments and now it's 3 or 4 weeks late, what you're doing is you're building a pattern that when your child gets ready to get a job, this becomes the norm. And then when our children cannot keep employment, we wonder why. Because some of the behaviors that our older children have as teenagers began when our children were younger, in primary school, in middle school, in junior high. Now they're juniors and seniors in high schools, and we have these great expectations for them, but we didn't start when they were little. You can't bend a tree when the tree is big. We have to start bending these trees when the trees are small, so that they grow and they grow tall and they grow with purpose. Mm-hmm. As I said earlier, this is a community issue. It is time for us to be accountable for the learning. It is not, yes, we depend on the school to educate our children, but back in the day, parents had the role of educating the children. The school system is to supplement what's happening at home. If education is not a priority in the home, there is nothing really that the teacher can do but say, this is the material and I'm going to push you.
Ms. Keisha, are you there? Ms. Keisha? We want to thank Ms. Keisha Jacobs for sharing, for truly accountability is the responsibility of not only the student, but as well as the parents, the family, and the community. And we know that we can't expect to get out what we didn't put in. And so I think that it's important that we keep our young people covered in prayer. We keep our parents, families, and educators covered in prayer, for we know that truly prayer can change things. And as young adults, and adults, educators, whether it's in the Christianity field, whether it's in the community, education is education. And we all have to share a responsibility of pouring into the lives of young people. And that's when life will get better in the community and better for all of us. For truly, we know that they are not only the people of today, but they certainly will carry us through the future. And so I just want to thank Mrs. Keisha for sharing on that topic. And Ms. Lillian, do you have a thought?
You just said that. Do you know that the basic fundamental things that we learned in Sunday school? Our public speaking, we learned from doing our speeches, our learning curve, getting over our shyness. We learned getting up, doing our little talks, doing our little plays. Those things were valuable in formulating who we were and how we were able to present ourselves when we got out. Our going to the Great Lakes and to the different conferences, engaging with one another, gave us the ability to recognize that we were not anomalies, but there were other young saved children, other children who had to go to Sunday school. So in the accountability, we were not just accountable to our parents, but we were accountable to our peers. If we had to put on a presentation and if I didn't do my part, I made everybody look bad. So we have to recognize that we share in the work for the community, for our growth. It is not, no man is an island. No man is an island.
That's right. I thank you for bringing that point forward. Truly, we know that even with Deacon Raymond Anderson and us working together in ministry, we know that it takes teamwork to make the dream work. And we know that through prayer, the Lord can give each of us what we need to make that a dynamic team and to make truly an impact that can be lasting. Deacon Raymond Anderson, I know that, like I said, we have had opportunities to work together and share in ministry. And what are some of the things that you've learned that have helped you throughout your ministry and service to be able to be fruitful and to multiply the principles that are inside of you in the lives of others? What are some tips that you can give to some of our young people and young adults alike to help them to grow, mature, and succeed in ministry?
One thing I can definitely say is, if it's not great, if it's not perfect, don't give up. Keep trying, keep doing the best that you can do, because right now you may feel like you're not getting anything accomplished, but you're grooming yourself daily. Like for me, for example, it's still some time. I don't like public speaking, but it's because of the training, the speeches and speaking in front of people. I have trained myself to where I have confidence to where I can do it no matter how I feel. It might be some doubt sometimes, but I know I can do it. Another thing I want to say to you is, don't let nothing discourage you. No matter what, I was always taught, if you believe it, you can achieve it. So if you believe in that thing, if you know as a young person you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, you believe it's going to happen. It may not happen when you want it to, and you trust in God, it will happen. Prayer and just belief is the key in success in life.
I like that a lot because it is so true. Prayer is definitely the key for succeeding in life. And so it's so critical. And I know we've mentioned and we've heard that word prayer several times on the show today. And if we could just give a thought, simply, I know that prayer is just talking to God. I don't have to get deep. I don't have to get complex. I know that prayer is talking to God. And I just want to ask you, Miss Lillian, are there any specific words that have to be stated when someone is praying? So if a young person wants to take the time to pray, do they have to say all of those mighty, wonderful, large words that are so deep that they don't understand?
No, you just have to talk to God like I'm talking to you. Just he is approachable. He is within your grasp. The world wants you to think that you got to speak this great language, but God is he hears your secret thing, even if you don't utter it out of your lips. If you think it in your mind and you just decide you want to have a conversation, God, I just need you to help me. God, I just need you to talk to me. I just need you to understand. God will meet you right where you are. No great profound words, no over the top anything. Just begin to talk to him. Just try him. Just try him. Just try him.
That's
And
it.
you.
Thank you so much. Just trying my C. Deacon Raymond Anderson getting happy over there. I see it coming. I see it coming. But yes, just try God. And truly, we know and we are witnesses that the Lord will bless you in the city and he will bless you in the field. He'll bless you going out and he'll bless you coming in. And I know that, as I've stated previously, when we do what's right, no good thing will the Lord withhold from us when we walk uprightly. So to our young people, I just want to encourage you today to just trust God for your journey. Just trust him and do not doubt him. And like Deacon Raymond Anderson said, don't let anything stop you. People, they like to say things that may be negative. They may say things which are unfavorable. But what we want to do is make sure that we're always a shining light, that we are sharing with others all of the biblical principles that have been put inside of us. Yes, certainly when we go to school, we are charged with learning those lessons because we are evaluated to make sure that we can succeed in life. However, on this Christian journey, we are charged with learning some biblical principles, implementing them, and working towards making God look good, working towards God getting the glory in all things. And so I know that with that being said, we can make it, we can do it, we can succeed, we can gel, we can grow, earn, and learn together. We are uniquely different. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. And it's just a good feeling to be able to share and to be an encouragement to others, because we've definitely had people to encourage us. And as we've had people to encourage us, it is our duty to make sure that we consistently encourage others. So I know that I have a group, the Youngpreneurs Alliance, which helps to resource young business entrepreneurs from the ages of 4 to 25. And we pride ourselves upon doing God's will and letting him work in our business. And it definitely will shine through if we let him. And so this has been an awesome show. I really don't even have the words to describe, but I just thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart for coming and sharing on the Carla Murphy Show, Uniquely Different. For we've had the opportunity to grow up together. We've had the opportunity to share on one another's journey. And so truly, we're not just talking about it, we're being about it. And so we know that greater is coming and the best is yet to come. So let's just continue to stand. Let's continue to serve, and let's get all of those wonderful crowns that we know that the Lord has for us. So we're going to be faithful over a few things. God will make us ruler over many things. He just will continue to bless us more and more and more. So we'll get blessings after blessings after blessings. So to all of our young people out there in the listening and the viewing audience, continue to be great. And if no one has told you about all of the greatness that's inside of you, Just know, trust, and believe that no one can beat you at being you. So continue to be unique. We celebrate you no matter what area you're in, no matter what discipline you have, we celebrate you. And we know that you're going to continue to do great things and you're going to be a model to others. So thank you again. This has been a great show. I thank you all for coming and sharing. We're looking forward to the next episode. We know that certainly we are highlighting women during Women's History Month, and we have some more great women who will be coming on, and we have some more outstanding men who will be coming on to support the women in our lives. So thank you again. God bless you all. Have a wonderful day, and we are looking forward to meeting again. The Carla Murphy Show. I am Carla Andrea Murphy, your host. I look forward to connecting with you. 716-553-3109 or Carla Murphy, uniquely different @gmail.com. Or you can connect with me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Alignable. God bless you and have a wonderful night. Bye.